Why systems become impossible to change? Why do some systems become almost impossible to change? Why do organizations keep repeating the same mistakes? Why do governments, companies, and institutions continue doing things that almost everyone knows aren't working? The obvious answer is bad leadership, or bureaucracy, or incompetence. But those explanations miss something much deeper, because the most powerful systems don't resist change by accident. They resist change because that's exactly what successful systems eventually learn to do. And that's why the stronger a system becomes, the harder it often becomes to improve. Part 1. Every system starts by solving a problem. Every successful system begins with adaptation. A company finds a better way to serve customers. A government creates rules to maintain stability. A hospital develops procedures that save lives. A team discovers a workflow that improves results. Success creates confidence. Confidence creates repetition. Repetition creates routines. Routines become standards. Standards become policies. Policies become culture. Eventually, nobody remembers why the system was designed that way. People only remember that this is how things are done. The system stops adapting. It starts preserving itself. Part 2. Success becomes the trap. Here's the paradox. The very practices that once created success eventually become obstacles to future success. Why? Because success creates certainty. Certainty reduces curiosity. Curiosity drives learning. When learning slows, adaptation slows. The system begins optimizing for consistency instead of improvement. Every new idea now looks like risk. Every change looks like disruption. Every challenge looks like a threat. Ironically, the better the system becomes at protecting itself, the worse it becomes at adapting to reality. Part 3. The hidden locks. Most people think resistance comes from individuals. It usually doesn't. It comes from structures. Imagine trying to change a large organization. You aren't just changing one process. You're affecting performance metrics, budgets, reporting lines, career incentives, departmental relationships, information flows, customer expectations, supplier agreements, technology. Every connection creates another dependency. Every dependency creates another reason not to change. Over time, the system develops hundreds of invisible locks. Nobody installed them intentionally. They emerge naturally, and together, they make change incredibly difficult. Part 4. Why replacing people doesn't work. This explains something many organizations experience. The CEO changes, nothing changes, the manager changes, nothing changes, the government changes, nothing changes. Why? Because people enter an existing system. The incentives remain, the feedback loops remain, the information flows remain, the risks remain. Soon, the new people begin making decisions remarkably similar to the old ones, not because they're the same people, because they're responding to the same system. The structure quietly shapes behavior. Part 5. The cost of stability. Every stable system creates value, but every stable system also accumulates inertia. Stability reduces uncertainty. That's good. But too much stability reduces experimentation. That's dangerous. When reality changes faster than the system, the gap begins to grow. Customers change. Technology changes. Culture changes. Markets change. But the organization keeps operating as if yesterday's world still exists. The system becomes increasingly optimized for a reality that no longer exists. Part 6. Why change fails. Most change initiatives attack symptoms. New slogans, new structures, new software, new leadership, new training. But they rarely change the underlying architecture. The feedback loops remain. The incentives remain. The decision-making patterns remain. The information still flows through the same bottlenecks. The visible change feels dramatic. The invisible system remains almost untouched. Months later, the old behaviors quietly returned. Not because people rejected change, because the system quietly restored equilibrium. Part 7. How real transformation begins. The people who successfully transform systems think differently. They don't begin with people, they begin with structure. They ask, what behaviors is this system rewarding? Where does information get trapped? Which feedback loops reinforce today's outcomes? What assumptions have become invisible? Which dependencies create resistance? Instead of forcing people to behave differently, they redesign the conditions that make different behavior possible. That's where real transformation begins, not through pressure, through architecture. Conclusion. Every successful system eventually faces the same choice: protect itself or reinvent itself. Many choose protection because protection feels safer until reality changes. Then what once created stability becomes the greatest obstacle to survival. The question isn't whether your system resists change. Every mature system does. The real question is, can you recognize the invisible locks before reality forces the system to change? Because the strongest systems aren't the ones that never change. They're the ones that never stop learning. If you want to understand systems thinking, organizational transformation, complexity, feedback loops, and the principles of system shaping, subscribe to Paradigm Red. Because where paradigms shift, systems evolve.